Welcome to r/EntitledParents, where this crazy woman photoshops her son's wedding photos, essentially giving him a Photoshop nose job. My mother-in-law photoshopped my husband's nose on our wedding pictures. How do I tell him? I am a 27-year-old woman, and I've been with my husband, who is 29, for 7 years. I remember that early in our relationship, one of the first things he expressed insecurity about was his nose, specifically about its width. He never wanted surgery, but he thinks that his nose is too big for his face. I never thought that true, and for a long time, I wondered where he'd gotten that idea from. Then I met his mother, and all my doubts went out the window. I don't hate her, but the woman complains about everything, and she seems particularly interested in criticizing her sons. Barely anything about my husband or his older brother is good enough for her. And if it is, she is quick to imply they don't deserve it. According to my brother-in-law, that behavior didn't start until my father-in-law passed about 8 years ago, so they don't usually hold it against her. But to me, it seems like she legitimately doesn't want her children to be happy. Most times that we talk to her, my husband ends up devastated. She constantly complains about me, his job, our apartment, and his appearance. She has, on more than one occasion, suggested that he get a nose job. That tends to upset him, so I always try to shut that down as quickly as possible. We got married in early May. The photos were ready about 2 months later, and we created a shared album on Google Photos for our friends and family, including, of course, my mother-in-law. I got pregnant during our honeymoon. Can't recommend Dubrovnik enough, and I'm now 24 weeks along. We've had problems with my mother-in-law concerning my pregnancy. We're having a boy, and she had a breakdown because she wanted a girl that forced us to put her on an info diet. That was 2 months ago, and she has since improved her behavior. Because of that, we said yes when she invited us to go to a mall near her place to shop for baby clothes last Saturday. My husband had an emergency at work and ended up not coming, but we still managed to have a good time. When we were done, she invited me back to her place. I hadn't been there in a while, and I quickly saw that she'd gotten some of our wedding pictures up on the wall. I instantly noticed something was wrong with them, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was yet. My mother-in-law saw what I was looking at and proudly announced that she'd gotten someone to fix his nose. In other words, she gave her son a Photoshop nose job on his wedding pictures. I could not believe it. I never thought she'd stoop so low. It wasn't even a good nose job. It was so bad that my husband's face didn't look real. He looked like a Ken doll, and not in the hot Ryan Gosling way. My mother-in-law must have seen how mad I got because she instantly tried to defend herself. She tried to make the point that her son deserved to look his best on his wedding day, and I should have convinced him to get the real nose job before our ceremony. I made up an excuse to leave, but I could tell she knew the real reason. She's been calling and texting me almost every day since. I've been ignoring her, but she's always either apologizing, accusing me of overreacting, or begging me not to tell my husband. I know it seems trivial, but I am outraged, and the more I think about it, the more disgusted I get. I could never imagine doing something like that to my child. I haven't told my husband yet, mostly because we've both been busy with work this week, but also because I have no idea how to. His mother was finally starting to be a better person around him and his brother, and I know it will break his heart to find out about this. I don't know what to do. I have to tell him, but I can't figure out how. I know he loves his mother, and I don't want to damage whatever relationship they still have. My mother-in-law also mentioned she intended to send the improved pictures to some of her relatives, so I've got to find a way to shut that down. So, how can I tell my husband that his mother photoshopped his face on our wedding pictures? More importantly, what would be the most peaceful way to do it? Wow, what a start to the episode. I mean, that is just an unbelievable story. I've never heard anything like this. That is incredible. Now, I will say off the bat, it's very sad that your father passed away, and I completely understand why, OP, your husband and his brother have kind of given their mum a pass for a number of years, because, you know, a death in the family like that is completely tragic, and it could and, you know, probably would lead to some unexpected and strange behavior. However, it has now been 8 years, and she's still being horribly and horrifically abusive. This is insane. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you have to tell him, and there's not going to be a peaceful way of doing it. You have to tell him the facts. He deserves to know. Yes, you don't want him to fall out with his mum, but if someone is doing this to your husband, I don't care who it is, it's literally incredible. Like, that is mad. You've got to tell him. He's not going to like it. Who knows what the repercussions and consequences might be, but that's for him and you and, his mum to deal with. Absolutely unbelievable. I've never heard of anything like this. Just incredible. Guys, comment down below. What do you think OP and her husband should do in regard to the pictures, and also just his mum in general? For me, I'd say you're not allowed to have those pictures up. It's disgusting. Either you have the real pictures up, or I'm not going to talk to you again. And I understand it's easy for me to say, as this is not my mum and it's not my family, but I'd be very tempted to put that sort of ultimatum in place. Once again, what a start to the episode. Unbelievable. Let's carry on. Now for our next Entitled Parents story. Entitled Dad called the police on me for sitting in a pool. This just happened today and I'm so mad. I am a 28-year-old man and I'm autistic, and I just wanted to spend some time relaxing in our local swimming pool. I had black goggles and I like to swim underwater. I also like to simply rest against the poolside and chill. Also, I was the only adult male without any children in this pool, which is clearly for everyone to use. Shallow at one end, deep at the other, etc. I'm just resting by the poolside when a manager, not even a lifeguard, a manager, comes over to me and tells me my presence and behavior is making someone uncomfortable. He explained that somebody had complained that me diving underwater and simply sitting by the side of the pool was apparently unacceptable because I was apparently doing this to peep on children. He told me this in a non-accusatory tone and seemed to sound as confused as me about this. Okay, well that's good at least. At first I thought I was upsetting some over-worried parent, and being a parent myself, I felt horrible. I explained that I was just relaxing by the poolside. I offered to take off my goggles to put them at ease, and I even wanted to apologize to this person. The manager seemed to accept this and presumably went back to the parent to let them know I was sorry for upsetting them. About 10 minutes passed and the manager was back, telling me the police had arrived. I was shocked and asked if it was about me. The manager said yes and that they wanted to talk to me. This is when I meet the entitled dad for the first time. Big guy, maybe early to mid 30s and pretty buff looking. This is the only time he spoke to me, and all he said was, "You better go quietly or I'll tell everyone here you're a pedophile." He walked away before I could reply, and the manager led me out the pool. I felt tempted to flip this Kevin the Bird as I walked by, but I kept my cool and just left. I get to the locker rooms and 2 policewomen were waiting. Fortunately for me, they were really nice and friendly with me the whole time. After grabbing a towel, they started asking me what happened and what I was doing. I was honest and told them I was just trying to relax and had no idea that I was upsetting this person just by being there. I even told them I was autistic, which led to one of the officers telling me they had a family member who was also autistic. They then asked me for my details to run me through their database. While that went on, the entitled dad walked by and one of the officers asked to talk with him. He agreed and they went elsewhere. I got changed back into my clothes, and as I was coming out of the changing room, the entitled dad was in my way with his back to me. I couldn't quite hear what he was saying over the other people in the room, but I did hear him rather loudly order his kids to stay put while he went to get changed. He walked off without seeing me and I left the locker room. The police stayed with me in the lobby until their database came back. Of course it came back that I had no history of crime, and the gym staff had told the officers that I had no history of disturbing other people, and I was free to go. However, the entitled dad was hanging around near the back of the lobby watching me. The police saw this too and offered to give me a ride home since I'd walked to the gym. I accepted since I was pretty shell-shocked by the whole ordeal, and I was worried that this guy would try something on my way home. In all, this was a really scary experience, and I'm still shaking typing this. I'm just glad the manager and the police were professional enough to let me speak my piece. I should mention there were other parents in the pool who didn't care about my presence. Another dad and his kids were playing right next to me, and he didn't care. Now, good news on this one is that we do have an update. I went back to the gym today to see if the same manager was on duty. Thankfully he was, and he took me aside to explain his perspective on things. I'll call him Mike. Apparently, that Kevin seemed to be trouble from the start, being very irate with Mike as well as other staff members. The only reason it wasn't the lifeguards dealing with him was because they were scared of him. Being 17, 18 years old, this guy was an early 30s looking buff man. Even Mike, roughly the same age as the Kevin, was concerned with his behavior, thinking if he got near me, we'd end up throwing hands. When Mike first told him that I'd offered to leave my goggles off so I wouldn't dive underwater, that apparently wasn't good enough. Then when the police arrived, Mike had actually just told them he was concerned for my safety, nothing about the pedo accusation. No wonder they were so nice. I then asked Mike if at any point he thought I really was a threat to the kids. He laughed and said no, saying that when I'd mentioned I had kids of my own, the fact that I'd offered to apologize and attempt to de-escalate things, he could tell I wasn't dangerous. He was thinking more about me being safe than whether or not I was a threat, and the police seemed to think that way too. At one point after I left, the Kevin got mouthy again, and a receptionist chewed him out for his actions. I wish I could have seen that. Then Mike asked if I'd made it home okay, and I told him about the police giving me a ride. Their car wasn't inside the building. He was relieved and hoped that this event hadn't put me off coming back. I do plan to come back to this gym now, since I can count on the staff to have my back. But yeah, everything is cool now, and everybody knows what an idiot that guy is, so I don't think I'm in any further trouble anymore. Oh, and to answer why I left, I was given the choice as to whether to go or not. Nobody actually told me to leave. I was planning on leaving a few minutes before this encounter anyway, so I didn't mind too much. It was only when the police officer caught the Kevin staring at me that they offered to give me a ride. Okay, so let's be completely honest here. Realistically, this man is wasting police time, right? OP has not committed a crime or been anywhere near to committing a crime. What they're doing is completely within the rules of not just society, but also, you know, the pool and the gym, and yet he's had the police called on him. If that's not wasting police time, I don't really know what is. There's not even a semblance of a crime going on here. He's just swimming in a pool. Simple as that. Like, he's not being creepy either. It's not as if he's like going really deep underwater and going up to kids and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, people really hope he's not doing that. Let's just say that. He's not doing that. Let's be honest. So there's just no need. I mean, I really hope he's not doing that. Can I just make that abundantly clear? Because if he is, that changes everything. But from everything that I've garnered from this story, he's not doing that. And he seems like a normal guy, just chilling out. And he's got kids of his own. It seems unlikely that he was doing anything crazy. But you never know. But yes, in all seriousness, this guy, this Kevin, has wasted police time and he deserves to be punished for it. To be completely honest though, yeah, I'm not surprised that you're shaken up by this. Like, to just be going about your normal day and then have the police called on you for no reason, that is going to shake you up. You're going to be scared because you're thinking to yourself, wow, have I acted incorrectly? Am I doing something illegal? Like, you're going to have these questions. It's going to shake you up, even if what you're doing was completely normal and fine and what you tend to do as it was. Yeah, I don't really think you should blame yourself for that or think, oh, why am I shaken up by this? That would shake me up as well. Scary stuff. It's just a good thing that the police and the manager were on your side and didn't jump to conclusions. Now for our third entitled parent story. 2 kids unzipped my cat's carrier and were reaching inside to pet my cats. This happened a few months ago when I took my cat to a cat show. For those who don't know much about cat shows, when they aren't being judged, they hang out in large pop-up kennels. It's normal for parents to bring their kids to the cat shows, but this cat show had so many kids running around, it was insane. I've never seen so many kids at a cat show. I have nothing against bringing your children to cat shows, just please stay with them and teach them to respect the cat's personal space. So anyways, my cat was sleeping inside a little cat cave inside of his large pop-up kennel. I went to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, 2 children had unzipped the kennel and one was petting my cat. Why would anyone ever open a pet carrier and touch a random cat they don't know? I would have never done that as a child. I don't know where their mum was, but the girl was saying that my cat wanted attention and that's why she unzipped it. But he was still inside his little cat cave that was inside of the pop-up kennel. They're lucky I have a ragdoll cat. Extremely chilled, cuddly, social, and known as the puppy of cats. Additionally, my cat volunteers with kids once a week, walks on a leash, and vibes with literally everyone. But I cannot describe how upset this made me. I want to add that I've never had any issues with kids at any other cat shows but this one. But another thing is that when I was taking my cat to be judged, a kid touched his tail, and I had a couple of other kids try to ask to pet him as I was taking him to be judged another time. To be honest, I think that's alright personally, just jumping in here. But I understand, the previous bit, that is not okay. Also, I had to fuss at some kids who went to another person's pop-up cat carrier and had their hands and faces pressed against the mesh to see the cat inside, because that's probably very intimidating for the cat. I want to say once again that I've never had issues with kids at other cat shows. I don't know what happened at this one, but for some reason there were so many kids. I would like to add finally that most kids did have parents with them and were behaving well. Okay, an interesting story here. Just to explain what I was saying earlier, I feel like if a kid asks you at a convention like this, where you know there are going to be, families around and lots of animals, if they explicitly ask you, can I pet your cat? I think that's okay. If you want to say no, if you want to say yes, completely fine, up to you. But if they ask you and then you give them permission or not, I think that's fine and that's polite and that's to be expected. But if they just go up randomly to a pop-up kennel, unzip it, and then unzip another compartment as well inside it, and then pet a sleeping cat? Yeah, that's not on. And I know they're kids, but I mean, I agree with you. I wouldn't have done that when I was a child, and nor would the majority of people. That is entitled, and their parents should be having words. And now for our final entitled parent story of this episode. Sister-in-law freaks out because she feels my boyfriend and I are denying her child food. My boyfriend's family came to town for a week and stayed with us. We made sure to have clean towels, fresh sheets, a stock fridge, etc. Unfortunately, 2 days after they got here, my boyfriend got laid off. Ever since then, he's been really down in the dumps and grumpy. My boyfriend's family doesn't have the best manners. They leave dirty plates behind, don't clean up after their kids' messes and such. I tried my best to ignore it and just clean up after them when they weren't home. Today, during lunch, we served lasagna. After we finished eating, my boyfriend's sister got up and started packing lasagna for her kids to have for dinner. She packed what her kids left over and was adding more on top. They weren't going to be spending the night with us, so she wanted to have a quick and easy dinner ready for them. I told my boyfriend that if there wasn't enough lasagna left, I can order him dinner and to not worry. My boyfriend got up and asked his sister how much she was taking because he wanted to make sure that him and I also have enough food for dinner. Again, he's been very stressed about money since getting laid off. I mean, that is understandable. She screamed at him, "How dare you deny food for my child?" and picked her things up and left. Everything escalated out of nowhere. She packed her things and went to another rental. She felt like we were denying her child of food. I began crying and ran to my room because, unfortunately, I don't do well in these types of situations. I grew up around an emotionally abusive family, and these events are really triggering for me. She told my boyfriend that she did not feel welcome, and she felt like we were being rude to her. So am I at fault for making her feel unwelcome? Or is she just an entitled parent? She said that I was super rude for making that initial comment in the first place. The one where I told my boyfriend to not worry if we do not have enough food left. A simple conclusion for me here is that your boyfriend's family simply sucks. I don't think I need to say anything else other than that. Am I missing any details here? You guys let me know in the comments down below. For me, that is the conclusion. There's nothing more to say. We can get into we can nitpick through this story, but we don't need to. It's just, she's a joke of a woman. Simple as that. And that is going to do it for this one. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, drop a like on this one, comment your thoughts on all these 4 stories down below, and get subscribed with notifications on, or follow me in whatever platform you're on, so you keep up to date with my daily content here on the channel. Yeah, some interesting stories. That first one in particular, super original. Loved it. I want to know your thoughts. What would you tell OP's husband's mother? An ultimatum? Say it's fine? Say, wow, what a lovely nose I now have. I want to hear your thoughts.